543. Now back to Relationship Roundtable with Steve, Calvin, Trey, and Scott.
Welcome back into the Relationship Roundtable. I am not Scott Murray. He had to step out, filling in for him. Trey and Calvin are here. Steve has the night off. We do have a caller. Paul, what's going on?
I'm sorry. Did you say Paul? Is that me?
That's you.
I'm sorry to do that to you. Well, I'm just concerned about that it seems like, and you read in the press, if you read the Huffington Post or whatever, they straight out tell you that their goal is to disrupt and take Trump down. And with this type of pressure, it is amazing that he can get anything done, but he's been pretty successful at getting some things done, and no one's pointing that out. And I think that the guy's a little unorthodox? I think no question. But I think honestly, I think he's taking us in the right direction. But if the same things had been said about him and his family that would have been done with President Obama, we would have blown up. I mean, it would have been real chaos. And so I don't think it's being fair. I don't think the press is being fair. I don't think they need to stay in Congress, and they need to get out of his way and let him try to do what he can do. And if he fails, he fails. But I don't think that's going to happen. And you can tell I'm a bit of a fan, but I voted for him. But he's, what a rough go. I mean, I don't think he should have released Flynn. But then again, I don't know everything that happened there. I'm not in the inner circle, because you give them a taste of blood, and then you're in real trouble. So anyhow, that's my take. I think the fake news is what your topic was. I think it's a real problem. I think, what was it the other day? Wasn't it the AP that came out with the story that he's going to use the National Guard to go out and start deporting people, which is absolutely made up. If it happens next week, I guess I'm wrong, but I don't think.
Well, thank you, Paul, for chiming in here. Trey, I think, is going to say things. Thank you so much.
You know, I'm a big believer in a free press, but I'm also a believer that if you are charged as a member of the press, that you need to report the facts as they happen, and that a member of the press, unless it's specifically noted, should not be an advocate. They should be more like a court reporter. They should be more like the person whose job it is to report the facts. And have the facts been distorted lately? Yes. Have they been distorted historically? Absolutely.
And to piggyback on something Paul just said, some members of the media and networks have come out and said that they are trying to ruin his presidency. My question is it a good thing that the media could have so much power that they could ruin a presidency? I am totally on board with having a media, having a free press. I work sports broadcasting. You have to have reporters. You have to have that. That is not what I'm asking here. But should the media have so much power that they could ruin a presidency?
Well, didn't they do that with Nixon?
I think you got to have a free press, but I also think that
online one.
But I think so. Some of the spin is too much. But once again, my whole deal is, instead of us talking about our American press and what's going on between them, I just want certain questions answered. I think that eventually we're going to have to start getting together. I don't care if you're a Republican or Democrat. If I am looking at the situation, I want to know, hey, do you have any ties to these guys? Tell me you don't. Show me you don't. Let's get past it so we can fix our problems. I think the focus has been taken and placed on the media when the focus should be getting those questions answered.
Like
our biggest ally,
releasing his tax returns.
Exactly. I mean, our biggest enemy has been Russia. I look at Vladimir Putin, and I'm a history person. Guys like that, they're slick and they're clever, and I have concerns about him as a person who, and whether you like Trump or don't like Trump, this is just my concern. To me, he doesn't go as hard on Putin as I would typically expect Trump to. Because Trump doesn't play around. He's like, look, this is what I'm going to do. This is what I want to do, and I'm going to do it. And I want to make sure that he's going to be as hard on him as he's going to be on some of the things he doesn't like in this country and how he needs to fix it. And if I see that, then I become more comfortable with him doing what he's doing. But if I see that there's a little softness toward Russia, which I hadn't seen him do a lot of softness toward anybody, he's just pretty blunt. He's a businessman. He's going to ram it through. He's going to get it done. And I think that's why he was elected. I want to see the same attitude toward Russia that he does everything else with. And if he doesn't do that or doesn't start doing that to a lot of people's satisfaction, we're going to have a problem.
We have another caller on the line. What's going on?
Yeah. Are you talking to me?
I am.
Oh, okay. I'm calling about the issue with the fake news and the press and everything. And I feel like a year ago I was watching Fox News, probably 90%, and since President Trump has brought up about the fake news and everything, I've been watching more of the other. And right now, probably for the last 3 months, I've been watching 50-50, maybe Fox 40% now, 50%. And what Trump is right now, the Republican agenda right now is secondary to me, because jobs and the budget and the economy will all be second. It will not mean anything if our democracy breaks.
Agreed. And
so
I do the same thing, actually. I always alternate between what would be traditionally a conservative news media, Fox News, and maybe bounce back and forth to MSNBC, because then I feel like I get the complete picture. And I don't think if you listen to just one media outlet, you get the complete picture. Except for, of course, here on 570 AM.
And Trey, here's my biggest problem with everything that's going on right now. I'm a political science and history double major. When I look at history, I'm concerned that our Constitution is being torn down to make sure that people feel like they're safe, and you have to be careful because that has a double-edged sword. And I guess we can definitely talk about that in a minute. I think that'll cover a segment within itself. But that's my main concern.
And as a history major, and I was also a history major, and you and I have known each other almost 20 years now, yellow journalism has been around for years and years. I mean, this is not something new. This isn't something that we've not dealt with before. And, the press viciously going after, a politician or particularly the president is also nothing new. I mean, we've seen this before. But the question is how is Trump going to handle it versus any of his presidential predecessors?
That's exactly the question, and how are they going to work together? Because guess what, they have to work together. And us having a 77-minute press conference over the media, where President Trump just goes after the media, to me that is not a good use of our time as a country, especially when we have certain there's a lot going on right now.
But it's happened before.
It has happened before. But
Nixon did the same thing.
I don't think they have to work together, though. That's the big deal that they don't.
One thing, though, with Nixon, Russia wasn't involved.
Well, we were in the midst of the Cold War. I mean, the Cold War was...
I know, but he wasn't supporting it.
Absolutely. And so I don't know. I mean, this is a little bit different dynamic, but we do also have to look back to history and see if this is something we've seen before.
Well, history does repeat itself. So that's a good point. What can we look back to and gain from the past to use to our benefit now to see how we can work together? Because you say we don't have, the media and the president don't have to work together. They do.
I don't think, no, we can't make them work together. They can ask each other questions and Trump can answer them the way they want to. I don't think that they have to work together.
That's what I mean by work together. They have press conferences.
Yeah.
He has to answer questions. They have to ask questions. That's working together.
Yeah, and I know what you mean, but the main thing is our Constitution being upheld, and am I 100% sure that our best interests are being taken care of with this Russia thing? And that's just... I, along with a lot of people, Democrat and Republicans, everybody's kind of starting to worry about that. And if I'm Trump, I'm going to handle that and just nip that in the bud so people don't feel that way.
And, Putin, if Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin were to walk in the same room together, Putin would probably be the most likely to walk out. I mean, he is a trained assassin, trained by the KGB, and I mean, he is not someone that we need to take lightly.
That's why I don't want to work with him, because when I look at him, you look at what happened to I think it's a guy named Levchenko, and how he poisoned him, and how this guy died, and how his insides basically were eaten out by this poison that they gave him that could only be you can only get it through the government, basically. And this guy in some tea ended up turning completely white and losing all of his weight, and he was an opponent of Putin. And that's the kind of guy we're dealing with, and I just don't think that's the kind of guy we need to be dealing with. You need to deal with him strong, and you got to put him down like a rabid dog.
What's your take on McCain on all this, Calvin?
I respect John McCain. I really, really do. The man was a prisoner of war. I think he's a tough guy. I think he has his country's best interest at heart. And I think ultimately what it comes down to is anybody who wants to break down this Constitution has to understand it's a double-edged sword. If you want to break it down to be tough on this and to do this and to make America great again, that's fine. But remember, the flip side of that is if you don't follow the Constitution, you don't follow the law. And if the government itself is not going to follow the Constitution, the people that live here are not going to follow the government. And you have a whole other problem if that thing starts to happen. And that's why what's been working for 200 years, you must do what you need to do within it, because if you don't, you have chaos.
What do you think about his, and I'm paraphrasing here a little bit, his statement that that the first step towards a dictatorship is dismantling the press?
I believe it. I mean, and the reason why I say this, and nothing against Trump, I want him to do well, especially for those people who are hurting out here. I may not be a Republican. I didn't vote for him, but I want him to do well. I've had people in the Republican Party that have been great to me, that have been nice to me, that have helped me along in my life. I want them to do fine. They're Americans. I'm an American. But I need for him to focus on these folks that are going to lose their insurance, getting these jobs back like he told us he was going to do. And I want to make sure that the Constitution is protected. If we don't protect our Constitution, I don't care who you are and what you're trying to do, you cannot touch that or mess with that. If you think that you can start touching that and mess with that, then I have a problem with you.
Do you think the American people would let it happen?
I think there's a certain segment of this population that possibly could let it happen, but the rest of the folks are not going to let that happen. And I'm sick of us fighting each other. I want us to get to a place where we focus on our problems as opposed to Trump versus the media, Trump versus this and that. I want jobs. I want people to be working. I want some of the problems of the inner city solved. That's what we want. And eventually Trump definitely is going to have to get focused. Forget about the media. Go do what you do.
Thank you, Calvin. We're going to head to a quick break. Relationship Roundtable. I'm in for Scott Murray. He's headed over to Fort Worth for night one of the Davy O'Brien Award. Trey is in here with me. Steve has the night off. We'll be right back.